Hello and welcome to Banya Chat. My name's Thomas Barnes and today I am here with Ephraim Mudere. He is a fostering manager. He is the fostering manager at Banya. And I was just going to talk a little bit about following on from what we spoke about last week. Last week we spoke about some of the needs of foster children, but we were focusing on the disabilities and how to deal with that, and some of the physical needs of a child. More of the physical needs of a child. And with Ephraim, we'd like to focus more on the psychological needs. So Ephraim, would you like to, how does Banya's approach to this when children come into care?
Thank you, Tom, for having me today. As one of the, the managers in Banya, and it's a very good chat that we are having today, picking up from where my colleague left last week in terms of addressing the needs of children who come into our care. And like you said, that we are focusing on the presentation of the psychological needs of children. And when we are talking about the psychological needs of children, we are talking about, what actually the child needs in terms of their thinking, in terms of their emotional issues, and which might have been affected, or which they would have suffered because of their experiences in the past. Things like, for example, neglect. And neglect, has a varied way in which it affects children. It can be emotional neglect, it can be financial neglect, it can be physical neglect. But here we are talking mostly about the neglect that the child have actually suffered as a result of the emotional, trauma that they would have experienced, i.e. because of perhaps abusive nature of in families, domestic abuse, verbal abuse, all sorts of form of abuses that have direct impact in their psychological framework, and also in their emotional presentation. So when children come into care on that basis, you find out that they have got behavioral presentations that they come, and sometimes they will be so defiant in terms of behavior. You try to say, can you do this? And they don't do what you expect them to do, or they don't behave in what we ourselves may actually term normal, but to their world, it's normal because they are trying to rationalize with their experiences, and the past has had an impact in how they view the world, and care, therefore, is trying to ensure that your approach in dealing with that is not actually focusing on the presentation of the problem. In Banya, we offer training to our carers, and one of the outstanding training to which we actually do is therapeutic intervention crisis, to care, which we believe that, when children do come into care, they can present a behavior which can turn things into a crisis. But your approach should be therapeutic. In other words, we are saying don't focus on the presenting, problem, which can be perhaps swearing, which can be perhaps defying, boundaries. But we are saying, focusing on the need. What is that need of that child? And the need of the child might be a sense of belonging, to really, know that I belong. Like you, Tom, you have gone through, this process yourself, and you really understand that, sometimes when you are making some actions in terms of what people may term as negative behavior. It's actually a language that you are trying to share. You are trying to show that I've got a need. I need somebody to hear me. I need somebody to be able to understand what I have gone through. So our carers, within our agency and to a broader extent, all carers, is to be to premise their practice in understanding that this presentation can be even overeating. It could be even trying to hide things. It could be even trying to to try to self-harm, as an example. All these things are manifestation of psychological deficiencies as a result of neglect. And therefore, what we then say to our carers is that you have to be able to look at, what is it that the child is, doing, and offer them a sense of belonging. I think you might have heard about the Maslow, hierarchy of needs, which he mentions, and precisely talking about what every child actually needs, really in terms of what every person might need, a sense of belonging, that everyone needs, assurance of safety. Everyone needs, a shelter, all those aspects. And it therefore defines that in your approach in caring, you have to understand that what you do in practice is really focusing that the child is showing this behavior, but really there is a need to this child. And when you do that, you find that in the longer term, the behavior of the child will start coming to a place which we call, secure. They feel now secure. And when they find that they can be secure, the behavior also changes. Actually, the first time the child comes into your door, what you say, how you welcome the child is very critical, because it opens them to understand that I'm going and I'm coming into an environment where I am welcomed. They may not show that emotionally, but somehow something would have happened to them to actually say to them, you know what, you are part of this family. Do you like the color of your room? Is there anything that we can change in your house? Are there items? Don't be prescriptive. Listen to them. Hear what actually they think. Let them make a contribution, because as things that they may never have experienced, that, you know what, I can actually decide how my room should look like. I can actually decide the color of, that should be in my room. I can actually decide what items that I need in my room. And even when you are going out for shopping, ask them, what do you think we should, shop today? What are the things that you need in your meal? And rather than you being prescriptive, what you're actually doing there is, they may not come up with clear suggestion that you really can be able to think that it can perhaps to a larger extent make sense, but the suggestion that they would have actually made emotionally is making them to emotionally connect and bring them to a position where they feel that they are accepted.
I mean, Banya's motto is giving a child a sense of belonging. So when you're saying this, like, what you're doing is you want to make the child feel secure, you want to make the child feel safe, and you want to reassure them of all this, because like we looked up the statistics, and it's like 63% of children that come into care have experienced abuse or neglect. I mean, myself personally, I went through neglect. And that presents itself in many ways. Like I was quite oppositional and difficult at times.
Yeah.
But it was just like I had lots and lots of trust issues.
Yeah.
Because like the people that should have cared for me, my parents weren't the ones doing it.
Mm.
So that sense of insecurity brings out those issues. And what you're saying is that the psychological side of it, and the therapeutic side of it, is that what Banya are trying to do with the therapeutic side of care is that they are trying, instead of looking at what the child is behaving like, they're looking at why is the child behaving like that. And once you get to the reason why they are behaving like that, you'll see more of an improvement.
Yeah, definitely. Because in every presentation of a behavior of a child, there is a reason to it. There is a cause to why that child is behaving, that way. And like you rightly said in your own journey, Tom, rightly so, what you were presenting when you came into care was because of what you had gone through, what you had suffered as a result of neglect. And like we said in the beginning, that neglect covers a lot of forms. It presents itself in different ways, and it does affect children in different ways. And to some extent, other children, like you rightly said, they present a behavior of always being defiant. They don't want to engage. They don't want to take part in an activity. And they just want to be by themselves. Sometimes a child, you find they come into your care, they are always isolated. They also want to be alone. They want to stay in their own room, and they don't want to engage in the wider context of the family activities. And that by itself is showing you that there is a need. So rather than you being so vexed on the fact that they are not coming into the other larger family activities with you, and you are affected by that, you rather should actually be saying, I need to actually dig deeper. I need to find out in this child, why is this child presenting this way? And that's how the therapeutic approach comes in now. And you are not really looking at the problem. You are now trying to find out the cause. Even, for example, in medical terms, when you are feeling unwell and you go to your GP, and the GP will listen to what you are saying you are suffering in terms of your symptoms. But the doctor will prescribe a medication, that is tailoring to address the actual problem, and the focusing on what you actually need. And you find that in the process of you taking that prescription, depending on your illness, as days comes and weeks come, you start to feel better. So equally, when a child comes, we have to understand that children are coming having suffered, having been affected in their psychological well-being, in their emotions, and what they present in care, as behavioral issues or behavioral challenges, as we call them. They are actually a language that they are saying to you as a carer, or to anyone who is caring for that child, I am suffering, I've got a need. I have a need of wanting to have a sense of belonging. I need affirmation. I need assurance. I need somebody to tell me that I can be able to do and to make it. I need somebody to tell me that, I am a person who can be able to achieve, and I need somebody to be able to give me space, to be who I am supposed to be. And because most children, when they come into care, they would have suffered trauma, and that trauma is on the basis of the fact that no one actually listened to them, and you as a carer, you are placed with the responsibility of ensuring that you give them what we call a secure base. A secure base is an environment where they actually feel that I am safe. And in that, then can be able to then show gradually, to deal with issues of trust and wanting to now be able to say, can I trust this person? And you can imagine the journey that a child have, gone through. Yourself, you're an example. You have been, moved away from your family, moved away from the environment that you are used to, moved away from your own contacts. It can be contact with siblings. It can be contact with your own schoolmates. It can be contact with the particular environment that you are accustomed to. And you are coming into a new place. And added to that, you have other additional aspects of what you are also going through. So therapeutic environment, therefore, helps you to be able to offer that child a sense of belonging, which is our motto in the agency. But precisely what we are actually saying is that try to ensure that you give a child a secure base, a base that you can be able to say you are part of this family, you are wanted in this family, you belong to this family, not just in your words, but even in actions, because children really look at what you are doing more than just what you say. Yes, what we say should be important, but it must also be equally fulfilled in what we do, how you do things, how you project your language. Say, for example, a child might not have come from a situation where they have sufficient food at the table, and they always think that the food is just going to disappear at some point. And so you ensure that if food is always available and is visible to their sight. And initially they might have the tendency of wanting to finish everything or to hide some food stuff here and they're thinking that is going to go. But as long as they will see that food is always available on the table, it's not going away at any point, you find that they begin now to change, and that behavior just by itself naturally goes away, and they just become in how we can actually explain it, a normal way of approaching things. So yes, it's very important to ensure that we actually focus on a therapeutic approach. And I would say again, Tom, is that there are also issues about self-esteem, and that comes from emotional and psychological deficiency of children not actually feeling that they can be able to have hope or to have aspirations in what they actually want to do. The Maslow theory of needs, also explains that this is one of the particular area of need in a child, of being able to identify with their own identity, identify with their own culture, identify with their own language, be proud in who they are. And all those aspects might have been issues that the young person might have suffered. So the environment in our care will be like that. You help the child to develop a sense of self-esteem in their own identity, and you ensure that they get familiar with the things that really affirm who they are as a person. It can be, sexual, identity in terms of who they are, and sometimes they may want to be called this, and you need to be able to understand what is it actually they want. And sometimes they may be trying to cover, up certain aspects of their deficiency and presenting to you. For example, if somebody just want to be able to like older adults rather than getting relating to children of their own age, that tells you that there is some things that you actually need to work on in terms of self-esteem. And this is a long-term approach, Tom. It's not something that you actually hit and run. It's something that you are intentional about it. It's something that is systematic about it. So within our care, we have a framework in which we actually ensure that we monitor this in practice. We have what we call outcome tracker, which is a model that we use to actually track how our children are actually doing in the key aspects of outcomes of children, health, safety of the child, the self-esteem of the child, and ensuring that all the key aspects of the outcomes of children are actually met. And we have a way in which we monitor this. We have a way in which we discuss this with our carers. We also talk to our own children as well, how they are experiencing, the care that our fostering, our foster care provide, and also how our service is making an impact in their own experience.
Mm. Yeah, so Banya do an amazing job at that. Like they look at the child's progress, they see how they're developing, and they monitor to see the progress, and they just want the reassurance.
Yes, yes. And this helps us in our discussion to actually, provide an input in terms of what is it that we need to offer as additional support. For example, we can offer, family support to help carers taking the child out to activities that they would have identified they like. It could be going out to a gym, it could be going out to football, or any kind of activity that the child actually wants. And in that activity is, providing the child a place where they can be able to thrive and be able to find themselves, and also help them to deal with the emotional trauma that they would have actually experienced. You know that children want a place of play. Every child wants a secure place where they can be able to play, where they can be able to ensure that they connect. So we do that as well. And we also provide support, to our carers, in terms of training and helping them to understand more about what is it that they can be able to do in order to meet, the needs of the child. It can be in the area of ensuring that they are safe, and ensuring that if they find out that there are additional aspects of support that they may need, other services also are connected. For example, we work with other agencies, we work with CAMS, we work with our local authority agencies, and we also provide an opportunity, which we meet as a team around the child, discussing as professionals how the placement is progressing, what are the areas that we think need to really focus on, and which we actually need to be able to provide support to this child in order for the child to thrive. And Banya, we do practically the best in ensuring that that is done. Where there are areas of challenges, we sit down and we make a review of the progress of placement, and we make adjustment, and we tailor make the solutions based on what the child need, rather than what the problems of the child are. And also we try to ensure that our matching processes are to the best in ensuring that we match a particular skill set or an experience of a carer with a particular child, in terms of what that carer can be able to do and make a difference in the life of the children. And so there are holistic, methods in which we actually do as a foster agency, ensuring that the experience of the child is positive and they can be able to thrive. And Banya, from its formation now, has cared for more than 7,000 children, and most of them have, to a larger extent, thrived and made the difference post care, to be able to be adults who have got meaningful contribution in society in one way or the other. And that is gratifying to a larger extent. And our carers are really unsung heroes in that experience.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you very much. That's such a positive outcome as well. Like to hear that so many of our the children that have been through Banya have progressed to be contributing members to society.
Very much so. And a shining example is you, Tom. Yeah, I'm sitting with you now.
Yes.
You are interviewing me today. Can you imagine?
Yes, I am. I don't know how lucky I am. Like even post care, Banya's still taking care, looking after me, and looking out for me.
You deserve it.
So
you deserve it, Tom. You really deserve it, and it's really comforting, and that's why you see that you cannot put a price to the experience and to the outcome of the child. There's no money, there's no reward that can be sufficient. I think the greatest prize is actually to see an outcome, like you and like many others of yourself, and seeing that this is what has come, this is what has made it possible, and I think that that should motivate all carers, that should motivate everyone who wants to, who think about wanting to be a foster carer, because all what we are doing and discussing this is not just trying to talk about social care jargon or statements of a terminology which is perhaps just theoretical, but we are just trying to practically say the most important aspect that you should motivate you is, in the end of the day, or to see a child smiling. If you can make a child smile, that is the greatest difference that you should be able to to comfort or to console you and to take you to bed, that I have made a difference, even if it is just for an hour, because some of our placement are emergency placement. What we are saying is that for that time that the young person comes through your door as a foster carer or as an agency, they must look back at that 1 hour of their experience, that it has contributed to the other milestone and steps that they will take later on in their own lives. And we always say that your impact as a foster carer is not measured in how long the child has been. It's measured in the actions that you actually do. And those actions, even if it is for a day, are not in any way minimum, but they are a larger a stride in the larger pieces and steps that the child will take later on in their own day. And I listened to you one time when you were giving a chronology of the steps that you actually took, which means every step that you took yourself in care was memorable, and it's been a journey. So it's important in the context in which we are talking today that children have got needs, and foster care, in our experience, is mostly focusing on how do we make a difference to ensure that those needs are met. Even today, we are mostly focusing on the psychological aspect, but children's needs are wider and they are varied in their presentations.
Wow, that's lovely. I think that's a lovely way to round it off as well. Like, just like, I mean, you said put a smile on child's face. I mean, I'm no longer a child anymore, but I mean, I was, and you can see me smiling. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for chatting about this.
I so much appreciate you, Tom, and it's been a joy, and it's really lovely. Now you are part of the staff. It's a joy to see you. It's a joy to engage with you, and you are indeed a shining example of what this whole issue is all about. And I truly, from the bottom of my heart, wish you very well in terms of what you do and for your future.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I wish you all the best too. Thank you very much.